Imagine standing in a desert thousands of years ago. No banks, no stock charts, just people trading goats, grain, and trust. Then someone bends down, picks up a dull yellow rock, and the world quietly changes forever. Gold has started wars, crowned kings, and outlived every empire you've ever heard of. Empires burned, currencies collapsed, flags change. Gold stayed, not because it's magical, not because you can eat it, but because humans agreed on a powerful story. Gold didn't rust, it didn't disappear, you couldn't fake it easily, and you couldn't print more of it on a ruler's bad day. While promises failed and paper burned, gold simply waited. Silent, patient, heavy with meaning. At first, it was jewelry, then a symbol of power, then money, not because it was useful, but because it was trusted. And in finance, trust is the real currency. Fast forward to today, we swipe cards, tap phones, trade numbers on screens. Yet when fear hits the system, when confidence cracks, where do people run? Not to apps, not to promises. They run back to the same shiny metal pulled from the ground. Gold isn't just metal, it's humanity's longest-running financial agreement. Before we go deeper into how money really works, hit like, share this with someone who enjoys finance conversations, and subscribe to MANO INVEST for clear, simple stories about money, markets, and building wealth. Now, let's rewind history and see how a rock became a ruler. Why humans fixated on gold. Picture the world before banks, before wallets, before prices flashing across glowing screens. No apps, no ledgers, no numbers at all, and yet, one thing already ruled the human imagination. Gold, not because you could buy bread with it. There was no bread market, no currency exchange, no inflation chart lurking in the background. Gold mattered because it felt different. Early humans watched their world decay in real time. Wood split and softened, stone cracked, iron bled red rust into the soil. Even the strongest materials surrendered to time. But gold didn't. Bury it, burn it, leave it in the rain for 1,000 years. It came back unchanged. To ancient civilizations, that wasn't chemistry. That was magic. That was immortality pressed into metal form. And humans have always bowed to things that seem to outlive them. Gold became a shortcut to eternity. Kings wrapped themselves in it, not to flex wealth, but to borrow permanence. Temples lined their walls with it, believing the gods might recognize a familiar glow. The dead were buried with gold, as if the metal could negotiate safe passage into whatever came next. Gold wasn't money yet, it was belief. It was a story humans told themselves about permanence in a fragile world. And here's the crucial part most people miss. Gold didn't become valuable because it was rare. It became valuable because it refused to die. That single property separated it from everything else humans touched. It didn't rot, it didn't corrode, it didn't forget its shape. In a world ruled by decay, gold was the exception. And exceptions become sacred. Only later did humans realize something else. If a material doesn't change over time, it can store effort, labor, energy, memory. Suddenly, gold wasn't just beautiful, it was reliable, and reliability is the seed of money. Before gold could buy anything, it had to convince humanity of one thing first. I'll still be here tomorrow. That promise is older than finance itself. And it's the reason gold didn't just decorate history. It shaped it. But beauty alone doesn't make something money. That comes next. What makes something money? Picture a crowded marketplace thousands of years ago. No apps, no banks, no price tags, just people trying to trade what they had for what they needed. A farmer shows up with wheat. A fisherman brings his catch. Someone else drags in clay pots. And immediately, chaos. Because barter sounds simple until you realize this problem. What if the fisherman doesn't want wheat today? That frustration forced humanity to ask a life-changing question. What thing could everyone trust? Not because a king said so. Not because it was useful in one moment. But because it worked yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's where the idea of money begins. And to understand money, you have to understand its rules. Rule number 1. Scarcity. If something can be created endlessly, it can't protect value. Imagine seashells until someone figures out how to scoop up 1 million more overnight. The magic disappears. Gold didn't have that problem. It couldn't be printed. It couldn't be rushed. It took unimaginable pressure and time deep inside the earth to exist at all. No ruler could snap their fingers and flood the market. Rule number 2. Durability. Money has to survive time. Gold doesn't rust. It doesn't rot. A gold coin buried for 2,000 years doesn't come back almost gold. It comes back gold. That permanence mattered in a world where most things decayed. Rule number 3. Divisibility. You can't buy bread with a cow unless you're okay slicing the cow in half. Gold could be melted, divided, and reshaped endlessly without losing what made it valuable. Small purchase or large fortune, it scaled perfectly. Rule number 4. Recognizability. People needed to know instantly if something was real. Gold looked like gold, felt like gold, and was incredibly hard to fake with ancient technology. Trust traveled with it. When you combine scarcity, durability, divisibility, and recognizability, something remarkable happens. People stop arguing about value. They stop questioning the trade. They relax. Because money isn't really about beauty or shine. It's about reliability. Gold didn't become money because it was pretty. It became money because it didn't betray trust. And once humans found something reliable, they built civilizations on top of it. When gold became official money, you're standing in a dusty marketplace thousands of years ago. Someone wants to trade you grain for gold. Sounds simple, right? Except the gold isn't a coin. It's a rough, uneven chunk. So now you're squinting, weighing it in your hand, wondering, is this actually worth what they say it is? Every trade felt like a small gamble. That headache is exactly why gold needed an upgrade. Enter rulers and governments, not out of generosity, but necessity. They introduced standardized gold coins. Perfectly measured, officially stamped, same weight, same purity, every time. That stamp changed everything. Suddenly, you didn't need scales or second guesses. Trust was baked right into the metal. One coin equaled one promise. Trade exploded. Markets expanded. Armies were paid. Empires rose on the quiet clink of gold coins changing hands. Gold didn't just store value anymore. It ran the world. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Power is expensive. Wars cost money. Palaces cost money. Political promises cost money. And sometimes, governments needed more money than their gold reserves could support. So they cheated. Instead of finding more gold, they used less of it. Coins got thinner. Gold content quietly shrank. Cheaper metals were mixed in, but the stamp stayed the same. On the surface, nothing changed. In reality, every coin was worth less than the one before it. This trick has a name: debasement. And make no mistake, this was inflation in its earliest form. Prices rose. Trust eroded. People noticed that their savings didn't stretch as far as they used to. The currency looked the same, but its soul had been diluted. Sound familiar? Different century, different tools, same playbook. Whether it's ancient kings shaving gold from coins or modern governments printing money, the pattern never changes. When money is easy to create, its value is easy to destroy. And that lesson, written in gold centuries ago, still matters today. Gold, empires, and greed. Picture the sound first. Not trumpets, not cheers. The scrape of shovels, the clink of metal, the slow, hypnotic whisper of gold changing hands. As empires stretched their borders, their appetite grew sharper. Land was nice. Power was better. But gold? Gold felt like destiny pressed into a coin. When Europeans reached the Americas, they didn't arrive with curiosity in their eyes. They arrived with scales. They weren't asking, who lives here? They were asking, how much is this worth? Mountains were torn open. Rivers were sifted like bank accounts. Temples became furnaces. Gold and silver were stripped of their stories, melted into bars, and stacked onto ships groaning under the weight of ambition. Back in Europe, something strange happened. The treasure arrived, and so did the trouble. Kings thought they'd cracked the code to eternal wealth. More gold meant more power, more armies, more influence, more everything. On paper, it looked unstoppable. But money, like fire, has rules. Flood the system with precious metal and prices rise. Wages lag behind. Bread costs more. Trust erodes. What once felt like prosperity turns into panic. Spain is the classic cautionary tale. Gold poured in, but instead of building resilient economies, leaders spent recklessly. Wars multiplied. Debts ballooned. Inflation quietly ate away the empire from the inside. Gold didn't fail them. They failed gold. This is the part of history most people miss. Wealth isn't just about what you acquire. It's about how you manage the surge when it arrives. Sudden riches can weaken discipline, distort incentives, and reward short-term thinking. Gold can build empires, yes. But unmanaged wealth builds illusions. And illusions collapse fast. That lesson didn't stay in the past. You can see it today in commodity booms, tech bubbles, and even sudden personal windfalls. The resource changes. Human behavior doesn't. So when you hear that gold is real money, remember this. Gold doesn't create wisdom. It only amplifies what's already there. In the next chapter, we'll see how the world tried to control that chaos by inventing something even more powerful than gold itself. Not metal, trust. The gold standard era. By the 1800s, the world had learned a painful lesson. Money, when left unchecked, has a habit of running wild. So nations did something radical. They tried to put money back on a leash. Enter the gold standard. This wasn't just a financial policy. It was a promise whispered into every paper bill. That thin piece of paper in your hand? It wasn't valuable on its own. It was a claim ticket. A receipt. Take this to the bank, and you could trade it for real gold. Heavy, shiny, limited, and that limitation changed everything. Governments suddenly had rules. They couldn't just print their way out of trouble anymore. Every new dollar had to be backed by something pulled from the earth itself. No gold, no money. For a while, it worked beautifully. Prices were stable. Trust returned. People believed in money again because money believed in gold. It was boring, predictable, disciplined. The kind of system accountants love and politicians secretly hate. But history has a habit of kicking over carefully built systems. Then came war. Wars are expensive. Cannons don't care about gold reserves. Soldiers don't accept promises. Governments needed money fast. Not next year. Not after mining more gold. Now. So the rules bent. Then they cracked. And once governments realized they could step away from gold in an emergency, something dangerous became clear. If the leash could be removed once, it could be removed again. The gold standard hadn't failed. It had simply collided with human nature. And money was about to change forever. War versus gold. A nation at war isn't thinking about balance sheets or long-term discipline. It's thinking about survival. Troops need weapons. Factories need to run day and night. Governments need answers now, not in 10 years. And that's where gold enters the story. Gold-backed money sounds responsible on paper. Every dollar anchored to something real. Something scarce. Something that can't be faked. But gold has a flaw. It doesn't stretch when panic hits. Wars cost absurd amounts of money. Not millions. Not billions. Trillions. And gold-backed systems don't bend easily. They don't care about emergencies. They don't care about politics. They just sit there, cold and unmoving. So governments faced a choice. Discipline, or survival. They chose survival. Instead of raising impossible taxes or waiting for gold reserves to grow, they did something far simpler. They printed money without gold backing. At first, it felt like a miracle. Bills got paid. Armies marched. The machine kept running. But there was a cost. Inflation crept in quietly, like a leak behind the walls. Prices rose. Savings shrank. Trust weakened. And every crisis made the temptation stronger to print just a little more. After wars came recessions. After recessions came collapses. And each time, gold wasn't seen as protection. It was seen as a restriction. A leash politicians no longer wanted around their necks. Eventually, the final link snapped. No more promises. No more convertibility. No more gold behind the curtain. Money was no longer tied to gold. From that moment on, money became something different. Not a claim on metal, but a claim on trust. Trust in governments. Trust in systems. Trust that tomorrow would look enough like today. And that decision still shapes every dollar in your wallet right now. Because once money is free from gold, it's also free to change forever. Life after gold. Picture this moment with me. One day, money quietly lost its anchor. No announcement, no breaking news alert, just a slow shift where cash stopped being a promise backed by something solid and became paper with authority stamped on it. And that's when the world changed. Once money became pure paper, governments unlocked a superpower. They could print, and print, and print some more. Not because they were reckless villains twirling mustaches, but because printing felt easier than saying, no. Debt ballooned. Trillions appeared with a keystroke. The money supply grew faster than factories, faster than workers, faster than real productivity. It was like pouring more water into the same sized glass and hoping gravity would negotiate. But here's the part most people miss. Gold didn't vanish. It didn't protest. It didn't tweet. It just waited. Every time currencies weakened, gold quietly rose. Every time trust cracked, gold held steady. While paper money depended on belief, gold depended on nothing. It didn't need permission to be valuable. It just was. And here's where the story gets uncomfortable. Even today, central banks don't behave the way they talk. Publicly, they tell you paper money is stable, modern, efficient. Privately, behind closed doors, they're stacking gold like it's still 1800. Vaults filling, reserves growing, silent accumulation. They print paper for everyone else. They keep gold for themselves. That contrast is the real lesson of life after gold. Not that gold is perfect. Not that paper money is evil. But that when trust becomes fragile, those closest to power still reach for something that can't be printed. History doesn't shout this truth. It whispers it. And if you're listening, it tells you everything you need to know about what lasts when belief fades. The core lesson. Let me tell you a short story. Thousands of years ago, long before banks, before central planners, before financial gurus on YouTube, people faced a simple problem. How do you store the value of your hard work and make sure it's still there tomorrow? They tried shells. They tried stones. They tried promises written on paper. Most of them failed, not because people were foolish, but because humans are human. When something can be copied, diluted, or printed at will, someone eventually does it. Gold was different, not because it sparkled. Plenty of things sparkle. Gold became money because it refused to cooperate with human shortcuts. You cannot wish gold into existence. You cannot vote it into abundance. You cannot print it on a deadline because the economy needs a boost. Every ounce must be wrestled from the earth, at real cost, with real effort. Gold survived fires, floods, wars, and collapses. Empires rose with it in their vaults and fell with it still holding value in someone's hand. Governments changed flags, laws, and borders, but gold quietly waited, unchanged. That patience is the secret. Gold enforced discipline. It told kings, bankers, and nations the same thing. You must earn before you spend. You must save before you promise. You cannot cheat time. Paper money flipped the script. Paper money works because we believe in it. Because we trust the system behind it. Because we assume tomorrow will look enough like today. And for long stretches, that trust holds. Until it doesn't. Gold does not ask for belief. It does not need confidence or slogans. It does not care who is in power or what policy was announced last night. Paper money relies on trust. Gold relies on nature. And nature does not negotiate. It does not lie. Finally, gold has buried empires, survived revolutions, and outlived every currency experiment in history. That doesn't mean gold replaces everything. But it reminds us of one uncomfortable truth. Money works best when it can't be abused. If you learned something valuable today, like the video, share it, and subscribe to MANO Invest for more clear, honest breakdowns of money and investing. See you in the next one.